Our top story of the morning, Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke testifying before the Joint Economic Committee in Washington. In prepared remarks, the Fed chairman offers some important signals about the Fed's intentions on quantitative easing. Just one quote about tighter monetary conditions. A premature tightening of monetary policy could lead interest rates to rise temporarily, but would also carry a substantial risk of slowing or ending the economic recovery and causing inflation to fall further. He's not tightening, he's not tapering. Let's go straight to Washington right now, where our chief Washington correspondent, Peter Cook, is on Capitol Hill with more of the highlights from Chairman Bernanke's testimony. Peter.
And that quote you just read, probably the biggest highlight in here, a warning of sorts, a warning shot across the bow for those who will argue that the Fed should start to cut back, should start to raise interest rates in the near future. That's an argument you're going to be hearing from some members, undoubtedly, from the Joint Economic Committee today. So sort of a pre-buttal from Chairman Bernanke about the asset purchase program and about monetary policy overall. Also within this report itself, no major changes in policy from the Fed chairman. With regard to the asset purchase, he will say at its most recent meeting, the committee made clear that it is prepared to increase or reduce the pace of its asset purchase to ensure that the stance of monetary policy remains appropriate as the outlook for the labor market or inflation changes. He's basically saying, again, the economy is going to dictate where we go next with those bond buys. He says with regard to the economy, economic growth continues at a moderate pace. Some headwinds have dissipated. Conditions in the job market have shown some improvement recently, but the job market remains weak overall. The chairman's words, inflation appears likely to run at or below 2%. The 2% the FOMC has targeted. He also talks about fiscal policy in his comments. Sarah, a plea again to members of Congress to deal with the nation's fiscal problems without doing harm to the economy. In the short term, he will say federal fiscal policy remains significantly more restrictive. Spending reductions are imposing a substantial drag on the economy this year. That monetary policy is not enough to offset the 1.5% hit to GDP estimated by the Congressional Budget Office. He will say specifically again to members of this panel, to promote economic growth and stability in the longer term, it will be essential for fiscal policymakers to put the federal budget on a sustainable long-run path. Importantly, the objectives of effectively addressing longer-term fiscal imbalances and of minimizing the near-term fiscal headwinds facing the economic recovery are not incompatible. We have heard Chairman Bernanke make this plea before to members of Congress. So far, it's largely fallen on deaf ears. Sarah, we'll see if he gets any different kind of reaction today.
Here's another money quote to me, Peter Cook. The job market remains weak overall, and we know that this is a big part of the Federal Reserve's strategy. He talks about some of the underlying weakness in the labor market, Peter.
That's right. He talks about the recent job report, cites the 200,000 jobs on average we've added over the last 6 months. It is still not yet good enough for this Fed chairman to take his foot off the gas pedal. That's the basic message we're getting from this testimony here. Don't expect any major change. And the reason why is the economy is still weak, and he believes, he makes the case in here, monetary policy right now, this accommodative monetary policy, is providing significant benefits to the economy. He justifies, again, quantitative easing these bond purchases and does not give any indication in this testimony he's prepared to cut those off at any time soon.